One thing that I think is extremely important in life, and now I realize as I say those words that I've started probably 4 or 5 videos exactly like that. So I'm gonna have to work on my intros, but having a long-term vision is something that I've been meaning to record a video on in a long time, for a long time. So if I just give an example, I guess through my life is probably the simplest way to do it. Um, Growing up, I guess I didn't know what I wanted to be. I would say like at a young age, I had a lot of people or like my parents and stuff tell me like, "Oh, you'd be a good lawyer," because I was very argumentative and get caught up on like rules and logic and stuff like that. I grew up the youngest in my family, and so I think that when you are in that position, certain archetypes and like what's the word? There's the word for like the child order and certain traits that tend to be more prominent in certain order. There's a specific name for it, but I can't think of it off the top of my head right now. In any event, I think youngest children probably tend more towards this kind of like argumentative lawyer type mindset when they're young because they're watching their older siblings get to do stuff that they can't do, whether it's like watch rated R movies or whatever it is. And so then you start like noticing the exception cases and where they don't fit and where the carve outs are and why did so and so get this. And then because you're very young, you don't get all the social aspects of like the hierarchy and everything else. So you're just trying to call a spade a spade. And as a result, I think that little ones can be kind of like little lawyers. I say that to say from a young age, I knew I was like analytical and I would say principled, but maybe we'll go with like concerned about issues of like rules and like I guess right and wrong. And from my perspective, I think anybody should be caught up on the axle of right and wrong, though. That's why I hesitate a little bit to say it like that, because I don't think that me as a young one caring about right and wrong should be viewed as like naive or anything like that. I mean, that's the most important thing. But then as I got older, like I started becoming aware of this baggage, particularly regarding lawyers culturally. Like, I can remember in 6th grade hearing a joke about like, what do you call like two dead lawyers at the bottom of the ocean or whatever it was, and it was like a good start. There was like all these jokes and just cultural um signals to me very at a very young age that like people don't respect lawyers. Like to use today's terminology, people think that lawyers just want to like show up and get a bag and don't care about right and wrong. It's just about arguments and and to some extent almost like manipulation. And I don't believe that that is actually what lawyers are or do. Obviously, I think that that's an oversimplified, caricatured view. But like it directed me from a very young age to be like, I don't want to be in that space. I don't want to have that reputation. So then I would say like the next thing that interested in me was like medicine and engineering. And that was probably like late middle school, early high school that I started thinking about that stuff. Um, and naturally, like, I think that to a fault, we hold healthcare people up on a pedestal, morally. Like, to some extent, I feel like because of our moral leaders have failed us so much in like the last 100 years, we're now at a place where just like the guy or woman who's meant to help keep you alive is the moral person. And on some level, that makes sense. But on some level, I think that that's kind of childish. I don't know how to explain it. It's just like this very, very simple view of like person that does CPR on heart, good person. But it was good enough logic to work on me. And from a young age, I was just geared towards this vision of like helping people and wanting to do something um, significant, I would say, for humanity on the side of positivity. And so I guess it started with like rules and ethics, morals, then moved into like health, consciousness, like public service and stuff. But um, this whole thing is about long-term vision. This is why I'm telling this stuff is from a young age, I had a long-term vision of what my life would look like. And I've continued to refine and distill that image to the present day of me saying these words into the microphone right now. And so, like, leaving senior year of high school, I thought that what I was going to be in life was like a medical doctor. Specifically, I was interested in anesthesiology. So I started studying biomedical engineering, again, with the long term vision that if I change my mind and I don't like this, I can back out of it and do other stuff with an engineering degree that I probably won't be able to do if I were to, say, do like a biology degree or another pre med major that people do when they want to go into medicine. And so I studied biomedical engineering, and it was extremely difficult because I was trying to get essentially perfect grades to get into medical school. So, like, if I got anything worse than an A minus, I was pretty pissed. And it was like in competitive, difficult engineering classes where I was competing against very, very smart kids who, in a lot of cases, didn't care about like medical school or that type of thing. So I don't think a lot of them actually did in biomedical engineering. A lot of people were pre med, but lo and behold, I go through all the work you need, and it's an enormous amount of work between like taking the MCAT, doing all of the research and the volunteering and um, the application process, everything to try to go to medical school. And what I realized after, so I guess, I mean, I don't, yeah, I'll withhold that part, but basically, I realized going through the interview process at a certain point that I was like, I don't think I actually want to do this. Like, the signs were just on the wall that this was not the right fit for me. And I could talk about that more at another time because it's kind of interesting story on its own, but it made me realize uh, that wasn't the right path for me. And the fact that I had had the long-term vision 4 or 5 years earlier to do the biomedical engineering in case that had happened, like played out perfectly. I mean, it, because I had thought at the time, like, oh, well, this won't matter because I'm going to be a doctor and that'll be the case anyways. Like, this is just a means to an end. But then that means to an end became the end itself at that time. And like now, I am so eternally grateful. Like, on the deepest levels, I am so grateful that everything happened the way it did regarding the stuff I'm talking about and not going down that path, because I had other friends who did go down that path at the exact same time. And then in 2022 and 2023, now when all of the stuff was popping off with AI, they're locked into now, like, in that case, like, oh, I still have to finish my third and fourth years of medical school, and then I have 4 years of residency. Meanwhile, in Silicon Valley, you have, thousands of very smart computer science people with like dead set on the explicit goal of making a machine that can do the work of a doctor or any other job, but a doctor is a nice stand-in for visualizing it, that can make decisions and essentially be a better doctor than you. So while like you're running around the track preparing for the track meet or whatever, like there's somebody 3 lanes down building a robot that's going to run around the track, and right now the robot's falling over or whatever and unable to run around the track, but it is very obvious to most people paying close attention that once this robot gets up and running, there's no way that humans will be able to keep up with it. And so I was realizing all of this stuff in 2023, and it led to me. I was working at I don't I was working at a medical device company, a large one, and it, like in a safe, ideal position, seemingly for someone in my space, especially with AI and everything that's happening. How people want to quit their job, or people are worried about their jobs, so they want to hold on to them tighter. It was the opposite for me, where I realized, like, I think that AI will be able to do my job uh, within, say, I don't it gets besides the point to put a timeline on it, but I think that AI will be able to do my job sooner than most people realize, sooner than like 95% of people realize. And I need to trust my gut and listen to myself. So I ended up like quitting my job, switching my life around, like living off of savings to focus on learning AI stuff. And there's other stuff that has happened since in the last couple of years, but like big picture wise, this is kind of how I got to where I am right now, where I'm uploading these videos on YouTube. And I guess I bring this all up to say, again, this video went longer than I thought. I think that when I don't record as often, the videos get longer because I have more to say. But my point about this with the long-term vision is that the vision that got me to where I am now, I continue to have going forward. And I have like a very specific vision of what's going to happen over the next year. And that is very exciting to me.